For week 8 head of house challenger, Big Brother started by mentioning Koyin's challengers, and they happen to be Koyin's competitors from the last interim head of house game. That's the game they played last night. The 5 people that played the final game with Koyin, and this happens to be Zita, Kola, Bright Morgan, Thelma Lawson, Faith, and Bright Morgan. So these are Queen's challengers for today's game. So let's go to the business of the day. The first game is called Clear the Runway, and this has 4 parts to it. So now, at the sound of the buzzer, the players must proceed to go to the first table and play a mini game. And this mini game involves the use of a plane to travel through a cutout track. After you clear the track, you go ahead to collect runway pieces and build your track. The runway pieces are at the end of the track, and you must make sure to build them completely before proceeding to the next game. Actually, this one looks like solving a puzzle, because like if you know how to solve a puzzle, you can actually do this. Why am I even saying if you know how to solve a puzzle? Bright Morgan didn't scale through in this, so it actually requires that puzzle skill, fixing pieces. But you need to be very attentive while doing that, because you need to watch the trackway. And then again, you must build your runway at the end back of the track, and runway must be complete before you move to part 3. Okay, and once you complete this, you now have to move to table 2, which is actually very easy, because this one involves sorting the planes correctly according to their colors. This is the only part that appears and is very easy to do, but if you do not get the instruction, you'll spend an ample time trying to figure this out. Anyways, a reference picture was provided for the housemates, and all they just have to do is just to replicate the reference picture. But trust me, someone like Kola even had to repeat this very part 100 times. Now, once a player is done replicating the pictures, you must go ahead and pick the pieces from the black box and assemble the plane in the provided frame. Mind you, this pieces as well is what you will use in building your plane. So once plane is fully built, you then proceed to table number 3. Now, for table number 3, all a player have to do is to successfully throw 2 paper plane through the ring. Once then, you then proceed to move your plane by pushing it from the tail and landing it on the runway you built earlier on. Now, the housemates will be playing in pairs, not as a pair but in pairs. At the end, 3 fastest to complete all stages qualify for the next round. Now, the first pair we have Bright and Thelma Lawson. Bright Morgan and Thelma Lawson both understood the mini game, which is navigating through the cutout. They maintained speed there, but when it got to fixing and building the runway, which I said requires a puzzle skill, if you can fix puzzle pieces. See, Bright Morgan is very good in puzzle pieces, but for some reasons, I don't know why he got stuck here. When he tries to move to the next table, Big Brother tell him to go back to his track. Well, he was still there when Thelma Lawson proceeded to play the rest of the game. And on seeing that Thelma was done playing, he went to go and sit down, and Biggie asked him, have you given up? Maybe he thought they were playing as a pair and not in pairs, Before Biggie asked him, have you given up, he now went back to continue playing until he got buzzed out. But he was still on that puzzle, and he actually told the housemates that while he was trying to fix his puzzle, while he was trying to build his runway, that one of the pieces broke. So there is no way his runway will be complete. But I don't think that is even the reason, because if Big Brother watches everything, if Biggie saw that a piece already broke, what about the rest of the runway? So Bright Morgan just got stuck at the runway, building his runway, and didn't get to complete the rest of the game. He got buzzed out there. That was where his game ended. Up next, we have Zita and Faith. Zita was the first person to navigate through the cutout, and Faith had to meet her up in building the runway. Now, you see these two, they came in with speed, following each other bomber to bomber. No wonder they both made it to the finale. And another thing I observed about Zita is underrate her at your own peril, because she'll be playing and be acting all softy like she doesn't know what she's doing or doesn't know her next move. But this girl, she knows what she's doing. Well, Faith finished the quickest among this pair, but they almost did finish at the same time. If not that, Zita forgot to fly her pepper plane through the ring. So she had to do that. And Faith as well, when the both of them tried landing their plane, Big Brother told them to repeat. So they had to do that again and again, and then Faith finished the fastest, but they both had speed. And now the final pair, we have Kola and Koyin, that's interim head of house and one of his challengers. Now, Kola got me confused on so many levels, which made me conclude that Kola did not understand the instructions. From when it was time to play the mini game, navigate through the cutout, Kola was complaining that his plane was not sticking to his stick, when Koyin was already done with that part and have moved to build the track. Now, when Kola eventually finished navigating and came to build his track, his runway, he now started, building upside down. Okay, so he turned the pieces, and I now said, okay, maybe he's trying to get it all together and proceed to turn it back the right way. But tell me why Kola spent how many minutes there? Guys, and I was like, I haven't thought you had your thing going on, like you know what you were doing. And then at table 2, Kola had to do that 3 times, but I'll give him some grace because his reference picture wasn't properly placed, so he had to go check what Koyin did and then return back to his own table to replicate that, and he eventually now got table 2. After that, he proceeded to play the rest of the game, but you don't need anyone to tell you that in this category, Koyin finished the fastest. And so, with that, we now move to the second and final game, the game that leads us to having our ultimate head of house. Now, before that, Big Brother mentioned names of those that made it to this category, and they are Zita, Faith, and Koyin. At this point, I was happy that Koyin made it to this finale. Now, for game 2, Big Brother provided a seesaw planes in the arena, and each seesaw plane has 4 balls behind it. Now, all the player have to do is to pick one ball at a time, move from one end of the seesaw, deposit the ball in the other end, okay? And they must make sure to deposit and balance. See, if you are a watcher of Big Brother, you will know that this is the game that took Chi during level up season to the finale. This was the game that made her enter the finals. Now, while this game is a game of balance, you must as well use your IQ, know when not to go for more balls. And I think that is exactly what Zita did, but let me finish with the instructions. So Big Brother told them that you must move from one end to the other and you must remain on your feet until you deposit and balance all 4 of your balls. At the end, the housemates who successfully land all balls on their plane with cargo intact becomes week 8 head of house. But if after 10 minutes, now listen, Biggie said if after 10 minutes and no housemates successfully load and land their balls comfortably, the housemates with the most ball wins. Okay, and this is where Zita played a very quick and fast one. Now, while Koyin was trying to do everything possible to have all his balls landed and balanced, he keeps going off, and the balls will have to go off the plane. Now, Faith, when he successfully secured 2 balls on his plane, he maintained that position. But what did Zita do? So Zita actually got her ball closer to the plane, okay? and then went ahead to balance two very well, knowing fully well that going on the third time she might end up losing the two. What did she do? She held on to the third ball on her hand and remained on that plane. And at some point, she complained of muscle pull. She was still holding on to the ball. And some of the housemates were telling her to remain that way. At the same time, they were also telling Koyin, to try and replicate what his colleagues were doing. But I guess at that point, he wasn't even hearing anything. He kept going on and on. And when 10 minutes got exhausted, guess what happened? Zita has 3 balls because she was holding on to the third ball. It was as if she wanted to go drop the third ball. And Big Brother had to tell them that Zita is now your new head of house. That by virtue of holding the third ball, and on that plane, that makes her the head of house. So with that, Zita becomes our week 8 head of house. So with this, Zita is already in the 9th week. Congratulations to Zita. Now, when asked to pick her guest, Zita asked Biggie, is it a month she must pick a guest? See, I know a fan base that will be boiling right now. Anyway, let me call their name. So, Dede. So, let me tell you guys something. An alliance happened whereby, let me just say it, whereby they said, you know what? Let's vote Zita since Dede is not up the previous week, okay? Let's vote Zita. Let's come together, align and vote Zita so that Mide will eventually leave. Mide will have the least vote. I don't know what made these people think Mide is not really that strong. But anyway, it happened. And guess what? Mide is still there. Zita now has secured week 9. And here is Zita, who was, last week, or let me say, from Wednesday, if you noticed, when Dede came back into the house, Zita, while maintaining her friendship with Tracy, was still talking with Dede. Even Saturday nights, they could talk. We hear them even discussing about the house and how they are not here to have friendship, why they are here to win and all of that. But anyways, Dede's fan base were actually finding that very cute. So Kola me surprised when she said, must I pick a guest? And now I was thinking, okay, Tracy is no longer here, right? Maybe she will pick Dede. But guess what? She picked Kola. Every day new surprises. Anyways, if you're part of the people that aligned to align and align against and for, please do well to drop how you feel in the comment section. Don't lie, you. I know what you guys did. Don't even deny it. Just come in the comment section and tell me how you feel currently. But all the same, congratulations to Zita. Let's see how evening goes and who will be getting immunity and who won't be getting immunity. But as for this week, Faith and Zita have secured themselves to week 9. Congratulations to Zita. I'll see you in my next video.
Kola. Table 2. The head of house for the week. Who is your guest? Do I have to pick a guest? You accept. Oh my God.